Hey everyone, how's it going? I just recently put up a video where in part of the video I'm standing behind the horse to massage them. And I do this quite frequently. And there is always someone, if the video goes viral, that says, "You shouldn't stand behind a horse. That's the way you get kicked." And generally, if that's from a non-horse person, I go, good, don't stand behind a horse. I definitely don't want you standing behind a horse. But it's interesting to me how many horse people really truly believe that you're not supposed to stand behind them. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is there is no safe place around a horse. Period. Okay, and we've been taught, if you stand at this 45-degree angle from the shoulder and 6 feet back from the horse, or you walk really close behind the horse, that's great. We need guidelines for, teaching people, what is safer than not safe. But the truth of it is there's nowhere safe around a horse. And I'll be really honest with you. I've seen more people shoulder checked and run over the top of than I've ever seen kicked. Okay? So kicking is pretty rare. Now, when it happens, it normally sucks. But, I've seen dozens of people like run over, shoulder checked, pushed into things, pushed aside by the horse as they're walking. I've seen dozens and dozens. Kicked at, not much. Okay, so in 16 years, I don't know how long I've been doing this, 17 years, I've been kicked at 3 times. And I want to tell you a common denominator in all 3 of those situations. There's almost 2 common denominators, but not quite. Out of the 3 horses, all 3 of them were in pain. In pain. Okay, now I'm not counting Chester, actually, because he has a kicking problem. So that's different. I'm just talking about your run-of-the-mill horses that I'm working on that, nobody says anything about. If your horse has a kicking problem, then obviously that's a different situation. But I'm just talking about normal horses kicking at people. I've been kicked at 3 times. Common denominator is that, there's my friend, is that all 3 of them were in pain. Okay. Another common denominator for 2 of the 3 horses is that they were young. So young horses, the way I say it is they don't regulate their emotions. They don't regulate their emotions as well as horses that are a little bit older. Okay, so young horses, they're a little bit more emotional. They don't know how to handle situations. They haven't been in as many situations. Okay, they haven't had the exposure, so they have a tendency to overreact. Okay, so 2 of them were young and in pain, and one of them was in pain. She was a broodmare that had been bred 12 or 13 times. Okay, which that's not good. I mean, that's hard. That's hard on a body, we'll say. Okay. So that to me is a common denominator or 2 of horses that will kick. And they did it pretty quickly. Okay. So again, that young part comes in. The broodmare warned multiple times. Okay. So, but she was actually kicking at me. So there's a difference between just kicking and kicking at you, but I'm not going to get into that. Okay. So, as far as standing behind horses, I stand behind horses all the time. Now, what's important with standing behind horses is that you're able to read their body language, okay? So don't walk right up to them and smack them on the butt, okay? I don't, spook them or startle them, okay? So if you can't stand behind your horse, then that's something you need to work on. And bodywork's a great way to build trust with horses, so you can always start at the front and then work your way back. And by the time you get to the back, they shouldn't mind you being back there. But if Chester, my little Arabian, has a kicking issue, so that's a different situation. I don't move around him the same way I move around Georgia. I will bet money that Georgia would never kick at me. Now, you never know, obviously, they're horses. But out of all the things she does, kicking isn't one of them. She's not a kicker, okay? A lot of times, I like to if it's your own horse, like what do they do out in the pasture? Okay, Chester likes to kick in the pasture and he rears in the pasture. Interesting enough, he does both of those things also when he gets flustered, upset, or really nervous, or the leg trauma stuff. Okay, so he does both of those things. Georgia, in the pasture, she'll kind of do a little weak rear and then she runs, right? She bolts. That's exactly what her coping mechanism is when she gets nervous. Although she doesn't bolt under saddle, but her idea would be to escape, not to retaliate. Okay. So dealing with standing behind horses, yeah, I do it all the time. I'm always paying attention to, are they tensing up? Are they breathing? Are they relaxing? I generally have two hands on them at the same time. Okay, so one hand is going to be up toward their hip more. You are able to read the energy and the intention coming at you if your hand is up on the hip. So you have one hand on the hip and one hand on the hind end doing the work. And you can tell that they stiffen up with your other hand. You can tell that they stop breathing with your other hand. You can tell that they move away. That's another thing, is horses, generally their number one go-to is not kicking. They have 17 signs before that. Okay, kicking is kind of a last resort. Not for all horses, but I'm telling you, 16 years worth of working on horses, they don't kick a lot. All right? They're going to step out of it. So that's why winning your horse's heart has become more about understanding these cues that a lot of people don't listen to or don't recognize. All right? Another reason I don't work on a lot of horses in cross ties. They can step out, but they got one step and then they're clotheslined. All right. So in a paddock with a halter, I'm not even holding on to the halter 90% of the time, or the lead rope when I'm working on their hind end. I might have a hand on their hip, which is around the lead rope. I don't have my hand on the lead rope. Okay. So if they don't like something I'm doing, they just step out of it, or they move to the side, or they swish their tail, or they raise their head. These are all things that I'm going to be paying attention to. So I never get to that point of them kicking at me. I don't ever get to that because I'll read the 4 signs that they give before that. Okay, now if you're not familiar with all these little signs that I'm talking about, you're in the right place because I talk about them. So feel free to follow me on Facebook, Winning Your Horse's Heart. I have a couple ebooks that talks about behaviors and cues. So you can message me about those. You can join my Zoom calls every Sunday at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. The link's on my Facebook, or you can message me. And so I'll end with a little story because I thought this was funny. I got called by a trainer one time, and she said, "Erin, do you charge hazard pay for horses that kick?" And I laughed. I thought that's funny. No, I don't. And horses don't normally kick at me. So, and she went on to explain, I have a massage therapist that I really like, but she's getting kind of scared of this horse at this point in time. And so I'm just wondering if you could come out and work on the horse and see what's going on. I said, yeah, no problem. So, immediately, and I'm not trying to be like cocky or whatever you want to call it, but immediately I thought to myself, they're probably not paying attention to cues that the horse is giving. And then once you get scared of a horse, they know that. And so it can go downhill pretty quickly. So if you're off on the wrong foot with a horse right off the bat, the massage won't go well. And it can be really frustrating for the horse and for the person. And then the owner just spent money on something that's not really going to be very effective. Okay, so I go, yeah, I set up an appointment, I show up. And she brings this horse out, and I laughed to myself because I thought, I don't know why I thought this. I was assuming. I was picturing a big horse that was like come out like a fire-breathing dragon horse. And it was a little tiny reiner, and she was so cute. I don't know if was she 15 hands? I don't know. I don't think so. I think she was 14-1, 14-2. Okay, she was little. And her name, get this, Cupcake. Cupcake? okay, Cupcake. And I just thought, this is awesome. Cupcake, but you listen, the smaller they get sometimes, you gotta watch out for them, because they fast. But I thought, okay, Cupcake, we'll start off on the right foot. So I just did my thing. My hands go out, hey, how you doing? That's step one. Introduce yourself. I think sometimes we get caught up in, I got a massage, I have 1 hour, I have 3 more clients after this. This horse kicks. This horse is reactive. I got to get to that hind end because the owner trainer said that their hind end is sore. My kids are getting out of school at 2:30. We get caught up in stuff. And all you need to do right off the bat to start your massage off properly is say, hi, how you doing? Put your hand out and see what their reaction to that is. Okay, because that right there tells you a lot about that particular horse. If they're like, oh, who are you? What's your name? Da, 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 da. Okay, you have a more extroverted horse. If they don't look at you or smell your hand, you have an internal or introverted horse, stoic horse. And I'll tell you what, my mare doesn't say hi to people. She does not care who you are. So whenever my mare chooses to say hi to somebody, I always go, what's up with you? I always want to know. Because she does not say hello. She just goes, whatever. She's good. She's super good, but she just doesn't say hello. She's not interested in who people are. Okay? So, how do they react? So I said hello to Cupcake. She was fine. I'm going to skip forward in this story because there wasn't anything going on. The thing is, that horse, the entire massage, didn't even consider kicking at me. She didn't consider it. The thought didn't enter her mind. Okay? And, the owner had told me, or the trainer had told me, it might have been her horse, I can't remember. She kicked at her multiple times. She definitely didn't, they're not getting along all that great. So I had it in my head, like, this horse could kick. So I was looking for signs that she was getting irritated. She didn't get irritated the entire time. She didn't even consider kicking at me. So I don't know what had gone on with the other massage therapists, and sometimes personalities just don't match up that well, and that's okay. I'm not putting anybody down. I've had horses where I was like, yeah, you and I, we're a little too similar to get along. But yeah, she was a delight. She was an absolute cupcake. Okay, so horses don't kick at people a lot. If you are paying attention to them and if you're picking up on cues that they're giving you. So this is where you need to know cues that they're giving you, and you need to be out of your own head enough to pick up on them. And I think that's a big deal. And they don't kick. So I stand behind horses all the time. And then, I also think it's funny. Are there not enough videos on the internet where people are literally climbing through their legs and doing all sorts of stuff? So yeah, they don't kick that much, but if you don't pay attention to them or they have a history of, trauma, that's a different situation. Or if you have a history of not listening to things they're saying, then yeah, you're going to get kicked at. So I don't have a problem with it. But if that's a problem for you, reach out to me and let's find out what's going on and we'll get that worked out. All right, there you go. I hope that helps somebody. You can stand behind horses. I give you permission. Just pay attention when you're back there. All right, talk to you guys later. Bye.